Hello, welcome to Superintendent's Corner. I'm Mary Murphy, Superintendent of the Marlborough Public Schools.
I'm RJ Skaza, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
And this is episode 3. Today we are joined by 3 Marlborough Public Schools principals, and we'd like to start with introductions of each of them. Calliope, would you like to start?
My name is Calliope Pantazopoulos. I am the principal at Kane Elementary School. I have been in Marlborough for 20 years now. This is my 21st year. I started off in Marlborough with a permanent sub-position after completing my student teaching and field studies in Marlborough.
What school was that?
That was over at Jarwick School. And then I was hired as a kindergarten teacher. At the end of my third year teaching kindergarten, I started looping up to first grade with my students. Did that for a few years, and then was the assistant principal at Whitcomb.
In what grade?
In 5th grade with the 5th graders, and then ended up was also a assistant principal over at Jarwick before becoming the principal at Kane.
How long have you been the principal at Kane School?
This is my 6th year, I believe.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah, thank you.
I'm Angela House. I'm the Whitcomb School Principal, so this is my 11th year in the district. Started when Calliope was an assistant principal at Whitcomb. I started as an art teacher for the first 4.5 years and moved into an interim role as an assistant principal and was there previous to last year as my first year as principal at Whitcomb. So that's where I still am in year 2.
Did your career in Marlborough start as a teacher?
My career in Marlborough started as a student.
Okay.
Proud graduate of Marlborough Public Schools and have been here since birth, so it's my home.
Yeah, thank you. And Dr. Riley?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dan Riley. I'm the principal of Marlborough High School. This is my 19th year in the school district. I spent the first 4 in the classroom as a mathematics teacher at the high school. I was also the assistant principal of the high school. I spent some time in central office as supervisor of mathematics and also the director of the STEM Early College High School. And for the last 5 years, I've been the principal of Marlborough High, by far my favorite job of all time so far.
So far.
So far.
Well, thank you for being here. And if people that are watching this will notice that we have principals from the elementary, middle school, and high school, because today's topic is that we want to address some of the questions that we've been hearing about homework in the district. I'm going to start by saying that the school committee has a policy. I have it right in front of me. It is entitled Homework. It does not say no homework policy. It is policy 7.700, and it's posted on the website under the school committee tab and under policies if anyone would like to read the policy in detail. We're not going to be reading that out loud. We're just going to be talking about it. So we wanted to start with Calliope. Calliope, you were a teacher for a number of years in the Marlborough Public Schools. And what did homework look like for you when you were a kindergarten and first grade teacher?
I would assign my students homework, and it would all be tied into what we were learning in the classroom. So if we were studying, for example, the letter C in kindergarten, they would be given a week long of activities to do that had to go with the letter C, like clap your hands 10 times, I can't think of any random examples at the moment, but there was everything tied in with what we were learning about in the classroom. We did the same thing in first grade. So if we were learning about just before and after and the sequencing a story, they would have to recall a story and tell the parents the beginning, the middle, and then the end of a story. So it was all tied into what they were currently learning in the room.
Did you expect that families would be practicing their reading and math at home?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That was expected every night. And it could just be like reading with your child for 10 minutes every night. Quick little math facts like setting the table. How many plates are you going to put on the table tonight? How many people do you see? Make sure they all have a plate at their table. And it could be something little like that. So
I'm curious because we haven't talked about this, but you have always worked as part of a team. Did every team member do homework exactly the same when you were
No.
kindergarten or first grade teacher?
Nope, it all looked a little different.
A little bit different.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you sent home homework. Did it have to come back every night, or how did you handle that as a teacher?
If it came back, great. If it didn't, that was fine as well, as long as the students had the opportunity to work with their families at home on something was the main priority. It was important to have that home and school connection so that the students could see what they're learning at school does apply to home and vice versa.
So that was at least 10 years ago, right? Probably closer to
little bit more than
15,
that,
right? Yeah, we won't talk about that. What does homework look like now at the elementary level? Because we've been doing a lot of talking about that, trying to be consistent. And we know we have students that go from one building to another, from year to year, sometimes in the middle of the year. So we want consistent practices. What does homework look like at the elementary?
At the elementary level, the teachers can give homework if they have the need to do so. I think we were on a walkthrough with the two of you, and we were in a classroom where there was a homework assignment on the table of a student that was out, and it listed just what the expectation was for the week for the homework, but it tied into what they were doing. It was nothing brand new that the students had to teach themselves at home, but it was just reinforcing what was being taught in the classroom.
I know that you and I have also talked a little bit about, because I think one slight change has been, I remember probably 15 or more years ago, a lot of times classroom teachers, and some of them might still do it, but would send home a reading log or a math facts log,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And the student was expected to do the reading and math, but the parent was the one that signed it. Some classrooms might still do that.
Yep.
Some classrooms may not do that.
Yep.
But does that change the expectation
No.
that we want?
We want them reading. We
Okay.
want them reading, and we want them practicing math at home as much as possible. Those are our two big things that we want them working on at the elementary level for homework. And reading can just consist of even reading in your native language, Russian, German, French, Greek, Portuguese, Spanish, whatever it is, English, just read.
Yeah.
That's what we want them doing. It helps them significantly.
Thank you.
As the proud parent of a 7-year-old, we do our reading at home
Good job.
on a nightly basis. And we try to keep it fun. Do you have any tips on ways that parents can make reading fun at home?
It could be even, they have these books, I can't remember what they're called, but there's a book that I want to say might be even called You Read to Me, I'll Read to You. And there's pages, like the one page that will be you would be reading, and the other page would be your daughter reading it. And it's fun because they go back and forth, and it's like a great way to read, and you're reading to them and they're reading to you. They're awesome. It's a great book to have, but just even if you're driving around with her in the car, and you see signs or whatnot, just read them or say, hey, can you find the word look as you're driving around? Can you, or even at home if you're like, you can even hide words in the house and have them find it. Find the word you, and see how many times that she can find it in the different spaces that you hide it around the house. It could be something fun and engaging and gets them moving around and makes it kind of like a scavenger hunt. So
Those are great ideas. I'm going to try some of those. Thank
awesome.
you.
You're welcome.
Principal House.
Yes.
We're moving up the ranks of school here.
6th through 8th grade.
Homework look a little different for you at the middle school level?
So homework looks a little different, but I would say the expectations are the same in terms of encouraging the reading and mathematic practice at home. We're looking for, 15 to 30 minutes of sustained reading for our students after school hours. And there's a lot of opportunities for them to get books well in our building that meet their interest level. So at the middle level, we're really trying to foster the loving of reading and being comfortable with it. If it's in a native language, that's fine, that's great. If it's in English, that's great as well. We have classroom libraries in all of our all of our middle school ELA and most of our social studies classrooms. And Reader's Workshop is still a very big part of what they've been doing in ELA. So we were on a walkthrough a few weeks ago where one of our ELA teachers did have a reading log. It didn't need to be signed by a parent. That's not, practiced at the middle level, but it asked questions about what they learned about what they were reading. Whether it's like, who's the main character? Who's your favorite character and why? Just little pieces from what they're reading. And they're expected to read the same book in and out of the classroom. And so it often travels in a backpack home and back to school. And we have a lot of online opportunities for students to engage in the math. Yes, some of our students need math facts, like the elementary level, and we have a program for that online, but beyond just math facts, we have our curriculum resource, which goes online that they can access at home, and even all of our online subscriptions. And that depends on the teacher, just kind of similar to elementary and high school, everyone's not going to do everything the same, but there's some consistent practices that you see.
So one of the things a little bit different than elementary, I did notice when we were in the class and the teacher was talking about the reading log, the way it was presented was that whole grade level was going to be doing that. So the content teams seemed to try to assign similar work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because we have 4 teams at every grade level, those teachers are able to meet a little more frequently throughout the school day. So they meet often and they try to align what the expectations are for kids. That way, when they move up through the grade levels and through teams, they're getting the same common experience, especially if it's a book that we're asking them to read at home, to discuss back in the classroom. You'll see work like that go home as well. Classes are 48 minutes long, and so as you'd imagine, some lessons, the instruction happens, but there are pieces of it that have to be done outside the classroom, and ways that can be done that you might not see at home, might not come home as homework. We have after-school academic support every single day, so students are often, I left the building today, and they got their snacks from the caf, and they were down working. We have 3 people that are monitoring that space, that are in our classrooms, that understand the expectations, and they're working students through that work that wasn't completed in the school day. We also have opportunities within the school day. Some of our students have focus block, which is intervention, and they'll be pulled for small groups. If a student, is struggling in an area or a skill, they'll be pulled and helped through the work that they're struggling with. So we're sending it home to complete because there's obviously not enough time in the day to read a full novel and then expand on it, but we give them opportunities to do that work within us, in our building, with the experts, because at the middle level, the work going home sometimes is not easy, and so especially the math work, we're there to support that for students. Yeah.
Thank you. No problem. Dr. Riley, I know that we're all aware that there are different expectations at the high school. One of the things, I think some of the confusion about having no homework came from the fact that there was no homework the first, the 2021 school year, when we were transitioning back and changing the model constantly. There was a strong feeling across the state that students and families needed additional time. So even in that time, though, you did have some classes that had home.
We did. Some of our more advanced classes couldn't avoid given that work that needed to extend beyond the school day. But I think the state and across the country, folks realized that while students were sitting on a screen for most of their school day, that extending that into the afternoon might not have been the best thing during the pandemic.
Yeah. So things have always been, with homework-wise, a little bit different at the high school. Can you share what it looks like now? Because I know that you and your team and the supervisors have worked really hard to try to have a consistent message this year.
Absolutely, and we've had the progression here with how homework becomes a little bit more difficult, and it certainly should be, the content should be more difficult as we move into the high school. But in terms of our instructional day, so most of our classes meet for 57 minutes a day, 6 out of 7 days. And that is quite a bit of instructional time on learning, we call it at the secondary level. So what we encourage our teachers to do at the high school is to plan their lesson around what they ultimately know is going to be the start and the end point of their course, whether it's semester or a full year. And so they've actually broken that down quite nicely too into what that looks like maybe over the course of a term or a semester and how that extends. So our staff have a really good idea of what they need to get through in order to get through the year. Within 57 minutes, there's quite a bit that can be done in order to introduce new topics and also providing students with time to work on those particular concepts during class. However, depending on the level of the course, the type of course, so we have content-based courses, we have elective-based courses at the high school. We're actually quite fortunate that we offer as much variety as we do. And different courses have different expectations and different amounts of time that's required in order to meet the entire sequence of that course. So there are many times when what needs to be accomplished cannot be accomplished within the 57 minutes. Most of our instructors and teachers are very good about letting students start things during class time so they can support what then needs to be taken outside of class time and finished. Like the middle school, we also provide academic support after school. We have late buses that run every day of the week after school. And students can stay after school if they feel like the school environment is the place for them to complete that stuff that goes beyond the school day, then they can do that at the school. But the bottom line in terms of what we have really understood is that in order to maintain high expectations, there are many occasions when things need to go beyond that 57-minute period in order to complete the entire course.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So connecting back to it's part of the coursework, similar to advanced classes where this is the outcome of the course, right? This is how you're going to be assessed. This is how you're going to be graded throughout the year. The grading of what was traditionally called homework is now included as part of the coursework. And yes, there is the expectation that all coursework is going to be completed, right? It's just a shift from a separate weighted grade to a course grade, which is different in different grades. At elementary, that isn't an issue at all because other than fifth grade, there's no grades at all. And at Whitcomb School, homework was a very minor part. It's just shifting that into class participation or classwork.
Yeah,
grades.
Prior to it not being a standalone grade, it was at maximum 10%.
Yeah.
And I would say of the total grade, and I would say some teachers at that point weren't even utilizing that category in their grade book. The one thing I just want to add that hasn't changed in terms of a change in policy that is out there is the expectation of studying for testing quizzes. Maybe not so, I don't know so much at the elementary level what that expectation looks like, but at the middle and I'm sure at the high school level, that falls on the student. They're to prepare for those exams when they come. So that's a piece.
But even at the elementary, because when we recently saw a homework packet, we did see the spelling words included. What a spelling assessment looks like can look differently in every classroom at the elementary school at different grade levels, but we still did see that. And at the high school, that's constant.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
The one thing that we were, I think AP might be a little bit different. I don't know about, but one of the things that we have been pointed about is that we are not expecting students to teach themselves outside of the classroom environment. And I think that's pretty consistent.
Yes.
AP, there may be a little bit of independent work.
That was a bit of a shift for our advanced courses, especially advanced placement courses, because the way that AP is set up, College Board, which is the official sort of oversight of advanced placement, they work with educators to develop a very rigorous, what we call scope and sequence of curriculum throughout the year. And parts of that curriculum are meant to sort of be self-introduced by the student as kind of part of the commitment that goes along with the advanced placement. So our teachers have worked really hard to build in as much of that as they can. It's not always 100% that they can do that, but they have tried very hard to do it as much as they can. And in our other advanced coursework area, we've built in opportunities with that, again, extended time on learning that we have at the high school to offer more support for students, like within our early college model, for example. And student success rates are very high in those advanced courses. We have the largest number of advanced course student seats this year than we've ever had at Marlborough High School, with about 750 advanced seats between early college and advanced placement. So those students are doing well. There's a lot of work that's asked of them, and there are times when it has to extend beyond the school day, but they've been doing well with it.
But there are other courses as well that, the freshman courses, that some work will extend beyond the school day.
Yep.
And also, as you continue to model the project-based learning, there may be people working on projects until they're finished.
Absolutely.
And they may be in the class, but they may be beyond the class as well. Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Very rigorous experience for our underclassmen that we're able to just bring back for the first time in 4 years.
Yeah.
Kind of got sidelined during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But project-based learning is back, and yes, that could require a little bit of time beyond the school day.
I think that is a perfect example of trying to demonstrate or explain to people what we're talking about. Because a project starts in the classroom and you have school time. There are times then the work has to be done outside, but the grade is the project that happens in the class.
Yes.
It is that whole example of what we hope we'll be able to expand to every student. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there are times too when ample time is provided during the instructional day, and maybe students are still working on their own time management skills, and more comes home because of that. But we know that time management is a very important skill to develop, especially before you leave high school and go to college. So we're trying to help students develop that too, make the most of their time, but they don't always make the most of their time, so more might come home.
And developmentally, I think that might be a little bit different, because I know that some of the elementary principals are a little bit concerned about, they don't want homework to be seen as a punishment. So that if a student is working hard and is a slightly slower developmentally, is a little slower worker, they don't want to have to send home all the papers that are unfinished, but have demonstrated that they've mastered the work. Yes. So yes.
And it's also making that adjustment, because you might sometimes send something home that is going home, and it might be, instead of having them to complete the 10 problems, as long as they can do 3 of them, it'll show that they've demonstrated that they're working on it, and they know that they're making progress and they can do it. So
back to ultimately reinforcing the skill, right? And not introducing any skill.
Not reinforcing, not introducing.
Great.
Correct.
I don't want to forget, though, what happens, though, at the elementary level if a family doesn't think that they're seeing enough homework? What can they do?
They can reach out to the teachers. The teachers would be more than happy to provide them with other additional things to do at home, or anything that their family would need, whether it's practicing math facts, additional reading materials, anything that they would like. The teachers would be more than happy to send something additional home for the families to work on.
I think at the middle level, you can always reach out to the teachers. They'd be able to best tell you where the student is skill-wise and what they should be doing. But we have guidance counselors, which is unique from elementary school, so that's something that parents should definitely contact their guidance counselor, and that person can help facilitate the conversation between the parents, because the parent is used to only having 2 or 3 teachers to talk to, and when we're at the middle level, we're talking about 7 teachers, possibly more over the course of a year, depending on your electives. So definitely reaching out to the guidance counselor and just expressing, interest in doing more outside of the classroom and what is there available. And we can always support the parents too in the conversation with the student, and to the reason of why it's valuable and why they should be engaging in it. Because I know the parents often ask for that support too. Like, how do we get them to do it? So we're there to help that conversation. The guidance counselors are the perfect people for it.
High school's a little bit different. It's more about making sure that students are completing all the requirements for their courses, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think where parents really come into be a stakeholder at the high school is if they are looking at the trajectory that their student is on, and they want that trajectory to be shifted. So, at Marlborough High School, we try to give every student a shot at making it through an honors trajectory.
Yes.
Not every student remains in honors and makes it through honors. Honors obviously has, because it's a higher level of coursework, it has more that's required outside of class time on students, especially as we're shifting now from term 1 to term 2, where we start to separate out in the earlier grades the honors from the CP. CP, less time requirement outside of school hours, and honors, more time requirement. So a parent might look at their student and know that they're on, let's say, a CP trajectory, and they may say, hey, I would like to have them back in an honors trajectory with more work, higher expectations outside of school time. And we as a school are always happy to support that and help accommodate that. It's for us, it's very much a family conversation, a family decision about the amount that's coming home, but more importantly, what it's leading towards. And so that's what we try to support through our guidance counselors and our teachers.
I'm Dr. Riley. We're going to have to follow up with another episode and talk about the higher level options that are available at the high school and how you prepare the foundation for all students to be able to access those.
Absolutely.
And share some of the data on how many students are truly accessing those higher level these days, because it's very exciting.
Absolutely, it is.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have any?
I'd just like to thank you guys for joining us today. I picked up some great pointers and got a lot of good information from different levels. So I think that it's very valuable to us to hear this. It's very valuable to the community to hear this. And I think that if anyone had any questions, you could certainly provide them with some answers and perspective if necessary.
Yes,
But nice job, and thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys,
Thank you
for
both.
having us.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and see you next month. Thank you.